Well, California is seeing some of the highest numbers of people moving out of the state.
I told people almost 4 years ago, I told everybody that would listen to leave California, that state is done, it's cooked, it's finished, it's never ever coming back. But before I get to this video, I want to ask everybody, if you find this video valuable, if you find it informational or entertaining in any way, to please subscribe, leave a like, leave a comment. Seeing y'all feedback is very valuable to me. I love seeing you guys feedback. So if you guys could do all those things, I would greatly appreciate it. But let's get back to the video.
Of the 20 cities named highest number of move-outs were in the Golden State, according to POTS moving and storage data.
Fox 26 reporter Sophia Lesios explains exactly why people are packing their bags and leaving. Sophia, what did you find out?
Liz and Monty, plain and simple, people can't afford to live here anymore. California's rent is 47% higher than the national average.
47% higher than the national average. That's unheard of. But it's not only individuals that's leaving California. Companies, major Fortune 500 companies, insurance firms. This is a big thing that a lot of media isn't covering. But there is a huge exodus that's going on in California, and it's been happening for a minimum of 5 years now.
Speak to one man who says that he's much happier now that he did leave the state. California is known for many things, including beautiful scenery, Hollywood's most famous, and being expensive. According to Rent Cafe, the average rent in the U.S. is around $1,700 for a 900 square foot apartment. In California, the average rent is almost double that at $2,500 for an apartment around
$2,500 for 900 square feet. Come on.
The same size. That's why Pod's Moving and Storage Company says many people are choosing to leave the state altogether.
I can't even begin to tell you how much happier I am in Florida than California.
Terry Gilliam says he left California 3 years ago after living in the Bay Area for 35 years.
It was the cost of living and the politics, traffic, homelessness.
And shout out to everybody in Florida. Hopefully everybody out there, I'm praying for y'all. Everybody stay safe. Hopefully everybody can get out and away from this hurricane that's coming. So definitely be praying for y'all. Keep y'all in my prayers.
Crime, everything that has gotten worse and worse over California, and the solutions that they proposed only made things worse.
He even started 2 Facebook groups called Leaving California and Life After California as a way to connect with others who felt the same way.
Crime in California, this is one of the reasons that I left. I knew, even though I didn't have kids at the time, I knew I wanted kids. And I knew California is not, in my opinion, is not a state. And let me say this before I go on this tangent, because I know a lot of people, they have great pride in their state, as they should. And sometimes when they hear people talking down on their state, they take it personal as if like you're talking about them. But I want to make it clear. This is me strictly talking about the state, how it's ran, how it's governed. I'm not talking about the actual individual people there, because there are some amazing people that live in California. But getting back to the crime, I have a friend, and I'm going to specifically talk about the Bay Area. And anybody that know anything about the Bay Area, they know this to be true. And this is why I always tell people, especially people that's Democratic leaning and their ideas, I always tell them to visit, if you can do this, visit San Francisco, because San Francisco is the epitome of a Democratic ran city from head to toe. That is an extreme, very extremist, liberal city. Like it's crazy. So if you guys could go there and see that for yourself, because many times people don't really understand like what they're promoting or what they're voting for. They don't really understand it. Like we have so many people that may be Democrats or whatever, but they live in Republican states or Republican ran towns and stuff like that. So they don't really truly understand what it looks like when a city is completely ran by Democrats. But when you go to San Francisco, you'll find out. I had a friend of mine, because we both used to go to school in San Francisco. He was going to school one day and he was sitting his car parked, and somebody rammed into him. Sitting parked, somebody rammed into him, and they sat in the car. So he's thinking like, dang, are they okay? Are they alive? So he get out of his vehicle and he goes to the car and open her door, because like I said, she never got out and she just sitting in the car with the car on. He opens the door and she has a meth needle in her arm and she's passed out. This is unbelievable. So he calls 911, the San Francisco police, and they come to the scene and they tell him verbatim, there's nothing they can do. they get in the car and they drive off. Now, some of y'all may hear this and be like, there's no way that happened, but I swear on everything I love, I might call my guy and have him on the show or something one day so he could tell y'all the story himself. But that is an example of how wild San Francisco has become. But it wasn't always like that. When I first started going to San Fran in 2015, it was a beautiful city. But as we know, politics can change everything. And I think so many of us, we think because something is a certain way, especially being Americans, we think because this is this way that we are entitled to it always being that way, or that it will just naturally always be the way it is. Without understanding, we have to fight for these things. We have to fight for these rights, for these freedoms, for these beautiful cities that we love. We got to fight to maintain that, because if you don't fight for it, San Francisco is a perfect example of what happened when you get bad leadership and you get people just running wild doing whatever they want.
Wait, he says most people are saying
rents are astronomical in California. So it's not just buying a house, it's renting a house. So there's a huge shortage of housing. And then really it's the domino effect. And it gets to where you get the straw that breaks the camel's back.
home values in California have increased.
He's man, he preaching, and I looked this all up for you guys, so I'm gonna share my screen so y'all can see it. Check this out. The average home price, y'all see it, and let me make it bigger so you guys can really, just in case if y'all can't read it or whatnot. The average home price in California is $900,000, which is more than double the national average. The national average home price as of April 2024 is $407,000. In California, as of April, is $904,000. Who, unless you make a lot of money, but we know most of the country don't make that much money, who can afford a $900,000 home? Now, some people may think like it's California, people out there making a lot of money. I want y'all to understand the average income in California for an individual is $74,000, and that is before taxes. So we got to talk about taxes now. Going into that just led me straight to it. So I'm gonna share my screen again for y'all to read this, for y'all to check this out. And let me widen it so you guys can really see this. And I typed in $100,000 salary for a reason. I typed in how much would you take home in California if you make $100,000. So it says if you make $100,000 a year living in the region of California, you will be taxed $29,959. That's because the tax rate, if you make around $100,000 in California, the tax rate is around 10%. But that's not federally, that's just the state tax. It's around 10%. So it says that means your net pay will be $70,401 or $5,837 per month. Your average tax rate at 30% and your marginal tax rate at 42%. I told people this 3.5 years ago. California is a state. They do not want you to become rich or wealthy. It's very hard to become rich or wealthy in California because you're going to get taxed out the ass for every dollar you make. Depending on how much money you make, you might be losing between 30, 40 to 50% of that, especially if you make a lot of money. So it's not let me show you guys this too. So this is the federal tax rate for 2023. It says if you make from 95,000 up to 182,000, you will be taxed at 24%. So if you make 100,000 in California, your state taxes will be around 10%, and then you got federal that'll be around another 24%. What could you do with an extra between 10 to 13% of your money if you went to another state? I know we all want that instead of having the government use our money. So that is the number one reason why I left California. Me as an individual, I left because I was starting to make good money, and I understood this. Anybody that know me, they've been following the brand. They know I'm all in on my finances. So seeing how much money they just gonna take away, but that's just taxes. We're not even talking about the cost of living. This is something that we have to talk about as well, because as well as taxes, that ain't the only expense you got. You got housing, you got food, you got insurance, you got gas, you got clothes. So let's look at affordability. What does California rank when it comes to affordability? And this says, and this is according to the usnews.com. Out of the 50 states and affordability, California ranked 50. 50 ranked last in affordability. Because everything is, and if you live in California, you've been to California, you know gas is extremely high. By the time I left California, and this was in 2020, gas was like $5 a gallon. When I left California, home prices on average was around like 5 to 600,000. 4 years ago, now it's at 900,000. Do y'all understand how insane that is? That isn't normal, nor should it be acceptable. But California, I will say this: California is a state where people have become so used to what's going on that a lot of times, just being real, people aren't fighting back. So taxes and affordability, the cost of living, was the number one reason why I left. The second reason why I left is I left. Y'all gotta understand, I left during COVID. And if you know anything about California and COVID, that was, and we throw out the word communism a lot, especially when people hear things that they don't like. They always say that's communistic, or you're a communism, or whatever the case may be. But during COVID, California truly became a communist state. And I'm gonna tell y'all why. This was the last straw for me personally. Around Thanksgiving 2020, they sent out memos and emails saying how many people you can have in your home for Thanksgiving. Now, if you cool with that and you don't have no issue with that, that's whatever. But me personally, as a real true American, there's no way you can dictate how many people I can have in my own home. Telling me I can have 5 people max in my own home. When I heard that, and when I got that email, and not only that, people were actually reporting people that had like get-togethers at their home, parties at their home. They were reporting people for that. And I'm gonna tell y'all another story. When I went to school, the last time I went to San Francisco, and mind you, this is in 2021. I flew out to because I was still going to school in San Fran at the time. So I caught a flight from Texas to San Fran, going to class. They refused to let me go to class because I didn't have my N95 mask. I had a regular COVID mask on. And mind you, in Texas, nobody even would, like, we was way past COVID. Nobody was really tripping on COVID. But at Cali, they were still moving very strict with their regulations and all that. And they refused. I took a 4-hour flight to get there just to get turned around and didn't let me go to class because I didn't have an N95 mask on. This is how insane this state has become governed. It's literally ridiculous. And some people, like I said, some people may think this isn't too extreme for them, but it's not. Maybe it's not extreme for you because you aren't living it yet. And it's so sad. The thing about California is so sad because there's so many people like that don't want to live there. I remember when I moved, the day we was moving, and I'm the lady that lived beneath us in our apartment. She was like, "Oh, you guys are moving." We had a short conversation. She was asking where we were headed and all that. And she said, "Man, I wish I could move. I want to move so bad." And me, I'm like, "Why don't you move?" This is what I asked her. And she said, I haven't moved because I can't afford it." She was like, "I can't afford to get all my stuff, get all my belongings, go visit first, find me a new place to live, whether I was going to rent or own. I had to go through that process. I had to pack up all my things." And she was like, I can't afford it. She said, "I've been wanting to move for years, but the cost of living here is so high. I'm just stuck in this cycle of always having to pay my bills, then start over the next month, pay my bills, run out of money, and start over the next month." So I was like, wow. When she said that to me, because sometimes when you're doing well financially, you can kind of lose touch with a lot of people with what they're going through sometimes. And when she told me that, I immediately was like, man, that's sad. And there's so many people living in that state, like from the homelessness issue, from the cost of living, from the taxes, from the safetyness. I remember being in what is that beach called in LA? The major beach where they shot that movie, Venice Beach. I remember being at Venice Beach, in the sand, playing football with some of my friends. I was in the military at the time, And I remember where we was playing football at, we running barefoot, and there was a meth needle in the sand that one of us could have easily stuck on. Now, who knows what the person that had that needle, who knows what they had? They could have been infected with something. They could have had HIV. It could have been all kinds of things that one of us could have stepped on and easily got something from that. And I'm not saying this doesn't happen in other states and cities, because there are things that happen everywhere in each state and each city. But I'm telling y'all, California is just different. It's completely become a shit show, just to be honest with y'all. And if I was living there, especially if I'm somebody that's striving to have money, to build wealth, to build business, I would immediately leave. Because that's it. That city is governed so terribly, from LA to San Fran to Oakland. It's a shit show. That's the easiest way I could put it, man. But what do y'all think before I wrap up? Am I wrong on this? Have you experienced this? Any other people that's watching this that lived in Cali previously and may have left or may have went back? What do y'all think? Is Cali fixable? Is it not as bad as I'm saying? Leave a comment. Like I said, like, subscribe. I appreciate you guys tuning in. That's all I got for you guys on this video. See you guys next video. Peace.